Hi there. In a world where nothing is certain, that means anything is possible, right? If you want to fulfill your dreams and desires, you are in the right place. You absolutely can have a life of happiness. Everyone deserves an abundance of love, laughter, success, health, and wealth. I'm Tara Chadzakis, and you're listening to the Happy, Inspired, Motivated podcast. The show that brings you meditation, mindset, and motivation. So start by giving yourself permission to be awesome. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hi, and welcome to this episode of Happy, Inspired, Motivated. Today, I am joined by E.A. Csolkovits, and he's going to be talking about his journey and how his life changed from being the son of a milkman who was working as a janitor later in life, and then how he met somebody called Sam Robbins and how that changed the whole trajectory of his life. His story also involves the founders of McDonald's, which was really fascinating, and it was like talking to an absolute legend. I find that the more we are open to opportunities and prepared to look and seek out and be receptive for things that the universe brings our way, the more that we are given these wonderful, wonderful chances that if we were just going about our day on a normal day to day with our heads stuck in our daily routine and not looking for the chances that come our way, there are so many things that we miss, and when EA is talking, he's talking about how many times he actually said no to the opportunity of meeting Sam Robbins in the first place. And then the opportunity that Sam offered him, again, he said no. And it's just crazy. But something made him turn back that night and go back and speak to this guy. And that just changed his whole life. I've been recently reading a book called Outwitting the Devil, which was written by Napoleon Hill. And in that book, some of the things that were in there they were like light bulb moments. There are things that I know that I've been shown. And that one of the things is actually part of this interview as well. And it really stuck out to me, this one thing, that for every failure that you go through, there is always at the same time the seed of an equivalent compensation or an equivalent opportunity that is going to be just as great as the failure that you have. You've just got to be open to receiving that opportunity. And for me, that ties in with the whole law of attraction teachings and the coaching that I do, because I find that the more aware you are of the way that the universe works and the way that it puts things into alignment and it orchestrates synchronicities and opportunities and brings people into your life just at the time that you need them. Now, those teachings go exactly along with my law of attraction coaching. And that's what I bring to my clients to try and help them to understand that no matter what you're going through, no matter how dark it may seem, what you're going through, you had to go through because it's going to bring you the future that you're looking for. Because the future that you're looking for and the opportunities and chances and inspirations are all the seeds that can be found at the same point as your darkest moments. So without further ado, let me introduce my amazing guest to you, and I hope you enjoy the show. So hi, and welcome to the show, EA. Csolkovits. Did I get it right?
Yes, very close. Yeah, it's
perfect.
VITS at the end, Vits. But I have to tell you, when someone hits 90% on my name, in my opinion, they nailed it. So that's a good thing.
Okay, I'll try again. EA Csolkovits.
You nailed it. See, look at that.
Oh my God.
So now what happens is if I ever forget how to say it, I'm going to call you if you don't mind. So,
and I'll just replay this podcast and say, I'll just remind myself before you call me.
You totally nailed it. I have to tell you, the permutations are all over the map over the years, so it's one of those great things you get to live with, it works for me.
Well, you see, I feel for you because I have an unusual surname. It's actually from my ex-husband, but it's Greek. So if I'm in Greece, it's fine. But when I'm in the UK, I go, so yeah, I understand the pain the
Yeah.
pain.
I mean, sometimes when they say that my last name, I don't know if I should hand them a hanky, or, say, "Here, blow your nose, you feel better," I mean, so, or say, bless you, but I totally relate. Yeah. I saw your last name. I said, oh, look at that. A compadre.
Exactly. Somebody else with an unusual name.
Yep.
But we don't cope very well with names that aren't normal, do we? That's the thing. So but exactly. It's a good conversation opener.
It sure is. It sure is.
So introduce yourself a little bit. Tell me about your background and how you got to where you are today.
Thank you. Be happy to do that. Actually, if I can digress, I'll go all the way back. I should warn your listeners, I never say anything in 10 minutes if I can't say it in 20. So they've been forewarned. But actually, I'm in Michigan. I know your podcast is out of the United Kingdom, and but I'm in Michigan, which is more central, a little bit eastern United States. Mm-hmm. And I was born and raised in a place called Chicago, Illinois, and my father was a milkman. So that, back then, I'm 65 years old now. So back at the ripe old age of 5 years old, my father, used to deliver milk, and he had a one-man route, and he worked for a dairy called Twin Oaks Dairy, and he had his own milk truck, if you will. That was his own truck. And
that's cool.
And we would go through neighborhoods and deliver milk. Back then, milk came in gallon jugs, and they had a box outside everyone's house, and that box is, and what was amazing, Tara, is the box always had money in it, always. And no one ever touched it. Not one single time did anyone ever touch the milkman money, because that was milkman money. Little different times, right? But and so there was always a note in there with money, and I would help my father. And I think that was there was one thing that I do remember very, very vividly, and that was he always said the same thing. And I think it sort of impressed upon me the importance of being a self-starter and how important that was, because he drilled it in me over and over again. Yeah. Every time I was out with him on the route, he would always say the same thing. Well, when we're done, we're done. And basically, because he didn't punch a time clock.
Yeah.
He had to get up at 3 a.m, and he got up. No one was telling him to get up. He got up and he got on with it. And basically he was always telling me, if you get done early, you get done earlier, so that sort of impressed upon me, get on with it. You don't have to wait for someone to tell you to, go with it, if you will. And then at the ripe old age of 16, I took my first big step towards success, and I became a janitor. Now, I didn't mind being a janitor because business was always picking up. What? Anyway, so here I was.
It took me a little while, then I was like, hold on a minute. Oh yeah, now I get it.
Yeah. Well, usually I laugh first, and that gives people indication that it's okay to laugh at me. I'm okay with that too. You can laugh with me and at me. I work with both of them. So anyway, at 16 years old, here I was the janitor, and that had two really interesting things that happened in my life. One was the name of the lady I'm about to say will mean nothing to you until I make the new movie reference. But at 16 years old, I was able to be bonded, basically means insured. Mm-hmm. And so if my buffer, while I was a janitor, hit a piece of equipment or something, the insurance company would cover it, right? And I was insured. Yeah. That allowed me also to be in very expensive places and also very expensive homes. And one of the homes I was in cleaning every single Wednesday was a lady by the name of June Martino. And June Martino probably doesn't mean anything to your listeners unless they've seen a certain movie. There was a movie out a couple of years ago. It's still available on streaming and probably will be for a number of years because it's actually a fairly good watch. Yeah. The name of the movie is called The Founder, and it's about McDonald's. And Michael Keaton plays Ray Kroc. Mm-hmm. And I can share with you that I lived in the Oak Brook area. So the McDonald's phenomenon, I witnessed it in my lifetime. I literally lived it.
How cool is that?
The world headquarters for McDonald's was where I lived. I mean, it was right there. So I saw this whole thing. And so I can tell you this, first of all, the movie is very Hollywood spin, very drama. Ray Kroc really wasn't that way. They just, they got to make it interesting and they put a spin on it. But in any event, for your listeners who have seen it, and if you haven't, check it out. And then when you see this part, think of me. In the movie, you will see Ray Kroc, played by Michael Keaton. Yeah. Constantly talks to a lady outside his office. He says, June this, June this, June. She's through the whole movie. You see June everywhere. That lady is the lady whose house I cleaned. That lady. And so she had, when I met her, she had the third most controlling stock in McDonald's. And so here I am, 16 years old. I'm in this $1 million house. And it was when I was 16, it was $1 million. Who knows what it's worth now?
Yeah.
In an area called Ginger Creek, which is basically, an adjunct to Oak Brook, where the world headquarters was. Very, exclusive kind of area.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that was very interesting to me, Tara, and I don't know where this came from. I had this erroneous thought in my mind, and it was wrong, but I had it. I don't even know where it came from. But I thought that in order to be successful, you had to be a jerk. You had to be an idiot. You had to be willing to push people down. You had to be me only, me first oriented. You had to be the first one. I don't know where it came from. I just had it. That's the way you had to be, and there was no basis for it. I just had that thought. And June, was so the opposite. It wasn't even funny how extremely opposite she was.
Yeah.
And that was fascinating to me. And so here I am. Every Wednesday I was in her house, right? Janitorial clothes, because I was there to clean the floors, buff the floors with a special buffing pad, and to clean the swimming pool and to clean the garage. By the way, side note, loved cleaning the garage. And the reason why is because I got to pull out a Rolls Royce and then sweep the garage. Now, I got to sit in a car that was like 10 lifetimes of my income, right? And I would go home and drive a Rolls Canardly, which basically is a car that rolls down one hill and can hardly make it up the next. So here I am driving my Rolls Canardly at night. But on Wednesday, I looked forward to it because I got to sit in June's Rolls Royce. I mean, this is
amazing. At 16 as well. My goodness.
Yeah. And I'd clean the garage 3 times just so I could pull the car out 3 times. That was it was spick and span, and I wanted to clean it one more time, right? So anyway, I'm thinking, oh, people really live like this. And I'm watching her, Tara, and she's not like a superhero. She's not like an alien. I don't see any powers. And she's not condescending. In fact, just the opposite. Very nice. She had a full-time maid and butler and always was very respectful to them. And if I was buffing the floor and I was looking down and she walked through the room of, the room I was in her house, and if she saw me first, she would say hello first. And I wasn't even looking up. I mean, that nice. I mean, super nice.
Yeah. I think sometimes though, we're led to believe that rich people aren't nice because it stops us from, so it makes us think that they're a different species to us, doesn't it? That's what it is. We're raised like that. So yeah, exactly. I can imagine at 16, you already had that impression in your head anyway. Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking, I feel like I'm a nice kid at 16 years old. And even though I've got my Rolls Canardly, I seem to be, I think I'm a nice guy, and, and I'm broke, I've got a JOB, which is an acronym. JOB stands for just over broke. Yeah. And so, so I've got, my janitorial. So I'm thinking, obviously to your point, Tara, and I agree with you 1,000%. Here I'm thinking, obviously rich people, are the opposite. And it was a little bit of a tiny excuse on my part too, because I'm contrasting myself, right?
Yeah.
And then here I am, I meet this lady and she's like, I'm not able to count how many zeros on my fingers and toes, how much she's worth. And I'm thinking, wow, this is really something. So one day I mustered up all the courage that a snot-nosed 16-year-old can muster up.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go ask June Martino a question. Here's the icon. Everyone knows who she is. I mean, everyone knew at that point, everyone knew who she was, right? In the area for sure. And so I went up to her, literally shaking in my janitorial boots. And I went up to her and I said, hi, June. She turned to me, looked, hi, how are you? I mean, she knew who I was. I was in there every Wednesday. And I said, can I ask you a question? She said, sure. I said, well, could you tell me about it? And she said, well, what's that? And I said, well, the whole McDonald's thing. I'm not kidding, Tara. She put her arm around me, brought me in the kitchen. I've asked her in the morning, invested the entire day. And I mean, all day long, told me the entire story of how she worked for Ray Kroc before he even met the McDonald's brothers. He was a milkshake mixer salesman.
Yeah.
And she worked for him then. And all the way through up until the moment we're sitting in the kitchen and everything in between. And I'm thinking, man, this is crazy. This woman is like talking, and I'm keep looking, is there anyone else she's telling this to? Why she, the whole day she's telling this. She even has the maid and butler bringing us food so she can keep telling me the story. And I'm going, this is just crazy. This is amazing. This is the icon, June Martino. She's telling me all of this stuff. And in the movie, she, in the movie, there's a reference. And again, it was very drama. Ray wasn't that way. And, Hollywood spin.
Yeah.
But she made reference to a part that is in the movie. And it didn't happen that way, but she's telling me this decades before the movie was out, that there was a time when Ray couldn't afford to pay her. And there was no money. And if you do see the movie, which I recommend, it's called The Founder. It's
I'll have a look for it. Yeah.
Yeah. And when in her real life, and when she tells me the story, there was no money. So she goes to Ray, and in the movie that did happen. And she shows him the books and says, we have no money. We're out of money. There's nothing left. And so she told me she continued to work for Ray for no income, no money. He wasn't paying her. And he paid her in worth less than zero company stock in McDonald's. And he agreed to take some of the phone calls from bill collectors so they wouldn't hound her on the phone. And so I just asked her, I said, June, I'm a janitor. I work Friday to Friday. I get paid on Friday. If I don't get paid on Friday, I'm not showing on Saturday. I need that paycheck. That's how I can afford my Rolls Canardly, right?
Yeah.
And so I simply asked her a simple question. Why'd you do it? And Tara, I'm not kidding. I remember it so vividly, like literally it happened yesterday. She sat back in the chair and did this eye lock on me. I mean, she's staring holes right through my eyes. And I could tell she just left the room. She's not even there. She truly is thinking about, and I realized right then, Tara, I had asked her a question no one had ever asked her. Everyone wanted to know what happened with McDonald's, but no one ever wanted to know why. So inadvertently, I asked her this question. And she's staring at me for about 10 seconds, and it seemed like about a half hour. And I'm going, I mean, she's looking right at me, but I can tell she's truly thinking, yeah, why did I do it? And then when she spoke, it made the hair stand up on the back of my neck. Not only what she said, the way she said it. And I remember my first instantaneous thought after she spoke. So when I asked her, June, why'd you do it? Why'd you work for nothing? No pay, getting worthless stock. She said to me, because I believed in Ray. And my first thought after that, Tara, was, that's it. That's the answer. I need to find me a Ray Kroc. I need to find a Ray Kroc that can put me under his wing. It certainly didn't work out too bad for her. I'm cleaning her house. I'm pulling out her Rolls Royce. And that I don't even know what I don't know. I just know I don't know it. And I need to find someone who could teach me all of this stuff that I know I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah. And all I know is I want to become rich and happy. Not realizing, by the way, I even had that backwards, because we should be happy and then rich.
Yeah.
But, at 16 years old, I'm about the money, right?
So, well, at 16, you think that you have to be rich to be happy, don't you?
That's right. And everyone knows, as soon as you become a teenager, God had already taken my brain and doesn't give it back to your 25. So that's God had already done that with me. My brain was gone, so I'm a teenager. So anyway, so this thing, I think, that's it. I need a Ray Kroc. And the next thing I did was ignorantly correct. And when I say ignorantly, I mean puritanically, that I just didn't even know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing. I just did the right thing by mistake. I stumbled on and simply threw it out there. To your point of the law of attraction.
Yeah.
I simply threw out the question, where's my Ray Kroc? Where am I going to meet my Ray Kroc? I never said I'm not going to meet him. I just, for some reason, just knew I was gonna. But I didn't know what he was going to look like. I didn't know if he's male or female. I didn't know who, what, how, or what. I just threw that question out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until much later with my mentor that one of the things he taught me was everyone in life I shouldn't say everyone, many people live backwards. Everyone wants to find the answer, get the answer, find the answer, seek out the answer, look for the answer. He said, it's wrong. It's backwards. He said, the answers are omnipresent. Exactly right. Ask the right questions.
Yeah.
And our lives become truly self-fulfilling prophecies. And he said, by asking the right question. So inadvertently, Tara, I didn't know what a mentor was. I didn't even know how to spell it. I spent my hooked on phonics money. I don't even know, what in the world, a mentor is. All I knew is I needed a Ray Kroc. That's all I knew. I associated that with. Wasn't about 3 months later, I'm at the janitorial service, same janitorial service in Addison, Illinois, another suburb of Chicago. And phone rings. My boss, Jerry, picks up the phone and talks. A few minutes later, hangs up the phone. He says, well, that's some guy in from Detroit, and he's opening a diamond store, and he wants to see some carpeting. He needs to see it tonight because he's leaving on a plane back to Detroit tomorrow, and they're doing this rebuild inside this place, making it a diamond store, and he needs to see carpeting tonight. And I said, okay, what's that got to do with me? He says, well, I need you to go. And I said, Jerry, I'm not going. Now we're going to count how many times I say no. So I said, Jerry, I'm not going. I've been cleaning all day. I'm exhausted. By the way, this phone call came in after dinner. So it was, starting to get a little bit dark out. It was evening, early evening. And I said, Jerry, I'm tired. I've been working all day. I'm fatigued. I'm exhausted. I don't want to go. Then he said, no, I need you to show the carpeting this guy. I said, Jerry, no, I don't know how to bid a carpet job. I've never done it. I can clean it, carpet. I can vacuum it. I can shampoo it. I said, I don't know how to measure it or do a carpet job. He said, you got to go. You got to go. I said, no, Jerry, I'm not going. He said, I'll tell you what. If you go, that's the third time I've said no. He said, if you go, I'll give you your pick of any Saturday off you want. Now, Tara, for a janitor, that's a huge negotiation chip because we work Saturday,
of course
when business
you do.
are closed.
Yeah.
So when business are closed, Saturday, morning to night, we're cleaning. So Saturday, that's a regular, you're cleaning no matter what. So I wanted to make sure my ears hadn't tricked me. So I repeated it back to him and said, any Saturday I want off. I mean, any Saturday? He said, yeah, any Saturday. I said, okay, Jerry, I'll go. So I punched back in on the time clock, threw the carpet samples in the back of my Rose Canardly, and I'm setting the stage now as I leave for your listeners. I don't want to go. I've said no 3 times. I'm not doing it because I want to meet a guy from Detroit. Seriously, a guy from Detroit? What do I meet someone from Detroit for, right?
I don't know about the politics there.
I mean, what am I going to do with, I don't know how to do a carpet sample bid, so I'm getting ready to do something I don't even know how to do. And it's at night, so I don't even want to go. I have all these reasons I don't want to go. I'm not doing it for my boss either. There's only one reason I'm doing this. The Saturday off. That's it. That's the only reason I'm doing this. Little do I know, I'm getting ready to meet the man that will change the trajectory of my life forever.
Ooh, now I'm getting goosebumps.
I'm getting ready to meet my Ray Kroc. And I've already said no to it 3 times so far. Now, have you ever had the time, Tara, and I got to believe you have, and many of your listeners, where you met someone and the comfort level is so high that you felt like you maybe have already met them before? Have you ever had that happen?
Yeah, definitely.
Same kind of thing. I mean, we talk about, and so this guy, Sam Robbins, and I are talking about anything and everything. The carpet's a no sale because he needs something real plush for inside a diamond store. And all we had was office grade, office kind of carpet. So I'm throwing the samples back in the car, but we talked for like about 2 hours. And this is, by the way, mid-evening, actually, past mid-evening. It's dark outside. It's night. So he offers me a job as I'm putting the carpet samples in the car. And I said, no. 4th time I said no. And I said, man, I don't know anything about diamonds. He said, I'll teach you. I said, I'll tell you, no. Now, the 5th time I said no. I said, all I know about diamonds is, number 1, they're expensive, and someday a woman's going to ask me for one. That's all I know about diamonds, nothing else.
Do you need to know anything else?
Yeah, that was it. That was all I knew. And he said, and so I said, no, I'm all set. So I have literally said no 6 times. As I'm walking out the door, he says something that he knows will grind me. He knows it'll get my goat. I didn't know at that point, Tara, that I genuinely was talking to a genius puritanically, not the IQ baloney, because I believe the IQ stuff is baloney, but I mean, a real human engineering kind of person that he can talk with you for about 10 minutes and look deep into your eyes and you feel like he's piercing your soul, and he can look into, and totally get who you are. Right.
Yeah.
I didn't know that's the kind of person I was talking to. Right. I'm just about the carpet samples and I'm leaving. So as I'm leaving, he says, I even remember the tone in his voice. He said, what do you have to lose? You could always go back being a janitor. And I said, no, and I'm out the door. So now I'm in the car driving home. It's almost midnight and it's starting to grind me. What's he mean by that? Can I go back being a janitor? Yeah, I guess I could. I mean, people make messes and I could clean it up and I could probably find a job anywhere. What's he mean? And what's he mean by that? I could always go back. You know what? I'm going to find out exactly what he meant by that. So I'm halfway home. It's almost midnight. I turned the car around. I figure he's gone. He's going back to Detroit. He had to be leaving, plane in the morning. He's still there. I said, well, what do you got in mind? For the next 4 months, I got in the car at 4 a.m, Friday night, Saturday morning, 4 a.m, drove 301 miles. I still remember the mileage exactly, from Chicago to Detroit in the heart of winter, every single Saturday for 4 months old. Got back in the car and drove back the same day. Did all this in one day. Drove all the way to Detroit, met with him for 6 hours, got back in the car, drove all the way back. Every single weekend for 4 months in a row in the heart of winter.
That must have really been worth it.
And I never missed a week. And here's why it was worth it. I knew he had what I wanted. I knew he was, millionaire many times over. I knew he was very, very happy. I mean, it was the happiness. It was just coming out of his pores. You just knew when you looked at him, this was a happy, you just knew that, right?
Yeah.
And so I didn't know at that point I was being tested, and he was testing me to see if I really was going to walk my talk or if I was just talking, right? And then a few years later, at the ripe old age of 19, I'm finally getting back.
Wow, you're only at 19, or that's all. Yeah, my goodness.
Yeah, I'm actually getting close to answering your question now. I warned you. I warned your listeners.
No, I'm not talking about the time. I'm thinking, my goodness, all this has happened and you're only 19.
That's
mind blowing. Yeah.
I was just getting ready to go. Well, here's the thing. I had to make sure that my bio in life would be longer than my last name. And that was a big challenge. So here I was. So at 19 years old, I asked Sam the question. We're closing this story, by the way. We're getting very close. And so here at 19 years old, I asked Sam, my mentor, Sam Robbins. I said, Sam, will you teach me everything? I mean, everything, all of it. Don't hold back. Teach me all of it. He said, okay, I will. But I want one thing from you. And I want to let you know, Tara, whatever he said next, I was in yes mode. I was going to say yes, whatever he said. Yeah. And he said, this is what I want from you. When the time is right, and you will know that time, I want you to teach as many people as possible everything I teach you. And I said, okay. So at 19 years old, Tara, I made a vow. I made an oath. I made a commitment to my mentor that I believe even today is looking on, helping me, because he knows I'm fulfilling my oath and my vow. In fact, I'll never stop all of my waking moments, because I know the moment I stop, that faucet turns off. And I need to keep going. And that, as we know it, has manifested itself, and that has become what we know to be Givers University.
Yeah. And he might come down and get you as well if you stop.
Okay, that's a good thing. So, and I want to share with your listeners that there was a couple of things that happened to me in that. Number one, I inadvertently asked the right question, and Sam taught me that I had inadvertently done the right thing by throwing it out there, throwing the right question out there. Our lives become self-fulfilling prophecy, and because I asked the right question, the right answer made itself known to me. I'm amazed, Tara, and I'm sure you are too, how many people go through life asking for what they do not want, and then they're surprised when they get it. They're surprised when they get it, but it's what they asked for. All the,
it's all they focus on.
Yeah. How come nothing ever works out for me? How come I can't be? And by the way, I got to rewire that in my mind right then, because I said it. But the fact of the matter is, they ask those questions and their life keeps giving them the answer. That's why that happens. And
Yeah.
then they're surprised. And so my business mentor, Sam, God bless him, began to rewire those burnt out, thoughts in my mind. The son of a milkman. And by the way, I enjoy when people put milkman instead of another word in there when they say son of a milkman. And son of a milkman, burnt out janitor. And he began to rewire those thought processes that I had in my mind, because I told him, I want to be successful. I want to be rich. And he told me, he said, do you know, I can tell you right now, earning $1 million will be one of the easiest things you'll ever do. He said, I'll tell you what's the hardest. And I said, what's that? Just believing you're worth it. And I never forgot that. And so I can share with you, and what I'm about to say is not to be braggadocious, but to say that he was accurate. At 21 years old, I was blessed to be a millionaire. And then at the ripe old age of 33 was the first year after I paid personal income taxes, I had $1 million left in my pocket in 1 year's income.
Yeah.
And that's not business money. That was personal income. And I paid tax and I still had $1 million in my personal pocket at 33. Now, why? Was that me? No, I simply was dumb enough. And I was able to, what I call dumb up, and listen to someone who knew what I didn't know. And I figured he knows, so I'm going to do it. Because I remember, Tara, when I saw June, I kept thinking, what's so different about her? I mean, I could only come up with two things. She knows something I don't know, or she's doing something I'm not doing. All I know is I'm cleaning her floors.
Yeah.
I need to find out what those two things are. And I think that's an important consideration for people if they don't have a mentor, if your listeners don't have a mentor, get one. Retain Tara. She's a great business coach. I mean, this podcast that Tara provides, is a great form of mentoring.
Yeah.
And these things are so important in our life. My business mentor, all of my blessings in business was a direct result of the things I was dumb enough to listen to and apply. I didn't just listen to them. I executed on them. I implemented them and did what he said. And so get a mentor. If you don't have one, I have to share with you, I call that naive. If you don't have a mentor and you want to become prosperous and you want to have more in your life, simply talk to someone who's done it. People always say, cliches are cliches because they're usually true. Not always. And here's one that's boldly wrong. Practice makes perfect. That is wrong. Practice never made perfect. It doesn't. Perfect practice makes perfect. Not practice.
I thought you were going to say success leaves clues. That's what I thought you were going to say.
Okay, let's go with that too. And my point is that, yes, it is true. Success leaves clues. And when we have a mentor that's already done it, they can teach us how to practice perfectly and not, make the own mistakes, because we keep doing, again, another cliche, keep doing what you've been doing. You're going to keep getting what you got. Yeah. And the same thing is true. So when we have a mentor like a Tara who can simply show us, how do we do this? How do we apply the laws of attraction? That's actually in our first course at Givers University. One of those laws is the law of attraction that we actually teach.
Because you have to know about it first, don't you?
You sure do. And it's part of that thought process that later on manifests itself all around us in our lives. And so I can share with you that the things that we're able to bless to share with others in Givers University are the combination of what my business mentor taught. And then also I was very fortunate when I had a business radio talk show for 2 years, and I interviewed over 1,000 millionaires in 2 years.
Wow.
And my best things, my best time was being able to ask them the questions off the air, and the lessons and the things I was able to ask them were extraordinary. And all of that over, 45 years plus began to germinate into, what is really taught at Givers University. And I can share just as a side note, because it really is important and to the part of your podcast with law of attraction. The way we frame things and the way we label things have a direct impact on how they impact us in our lives. And one of the things my business mentor drilled in me over and over and over and over again, he said, every, not some, every adversity in life carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. And he said, not some of them, all of them. He said, it's up to us to move aside the leaves and find those seeds, because they're there, not sometimes, all the time.
Oh, I like that. That's really good.
And he said, he said, eliminate the word failure from your life. Do not say it. Do not speak of it. It's the F-bomb. He said, get rid of that, the word failure. He said, because failure sounds too eternal. It has an eternal meaning to us. Supplant the word failure with temporary defeat. And he says, temporary defeat is just that. When you get tackled, you're going to stand up, because you're going to get tackled. He says, it's going to happen multiple times, many times. He said, when you stand up, you're going to realize you got a first down. You're still in the game. He said, when you say the F-bomb, when you say failure, you're throwing yourself out of the game. Don't throw yourself out of the game. He said, and the next part I'm going to say, Tara, is going to bake the noodles of some of your listeners. They will think that I'm going to move to the United Kingdom, because if they're like this guy in the United States, he is off his rocker. Because when I say this next part, but they have to ponder what I'm about ready to say. When they ponder it.
Do I need a drum roll now?
And that works. When it begins to unveil itself, they will begin to understand the real role of temporary defeat in our life. When we understand that every single adversity has the seeds of equal or greater benefit, when we know we can move aside those leaves and it's there, we then begin to realize that those seeds were exactly the exact thing we needed to go up the next step. And then go up the next step. In fact, without those seeds, we couldn't go up the next step. So here's the noodle baking coming up.
Go on then.
When we really understand temporary defeat, we will begin to welcome and embrace it in our lives. Because as impetuousness transforms into wisdom, we begin to realize that these seeds, these defeats, bring about the seeds that we need. And as we welcome them and move past them and rise up and go past them, we move from walking up the stairs to higher positions and status and more and increased learning and self-fulfillment in life. We begin to run up the stairs because we're not afraid of temporary defeat anymore. We realize it's a blessing. We can welcome it. We can embrace it. Move aside those leaves, find the seeds, and get on with it and watch. And here's the reason I bring that up. When I interviewed those 1,000 millionaires, I looked for commonalities. And one of the commonalities was as follows. They all, I mean, not some of them, all of them had a story when everything in their life told them to stop. Their acquaintances, their family, their finances, the economy, their business, everything told them to stop. They all had that story. And some of them said the next thing and even uses the same words. And what was interesting, Tara, is they didn't even know each other. They're from different parts of the world, different backgrounds, and said the same following words. Do you know I took the next step out of curiosity to see what else could go wrong? I thought, is there anything else I missed? Because I had to have all of them. So they said, I took the next step out of morbid fascination and curiosity to see if I missed anything, because everything that could go wrong seemed to have gone wrong. And they said, do you know what happened? When I did that next step, things began to almost mysteriously, but certainly effortlessly, began to work out on its own. And they said things began to connect and dots began to connect. And it was almost like temporary defeat had now exited from my life and went into someone else's life and to screw up their life, but had left mine. And they said it was that extra step, doing that extra step when everything's, and I thought, Well, that's what June did. That's what June Martino did. She worked for nothing. I mean, who's going to work for no pay? They're going to leave their job in a second. She stayed. She did. And that became a lesson for me, a commonality of these things that happen in our life as we set things out there. And, and as we get into, as I can migrate for a few minutes into really, as what we're talking about is Givers University and givers and takers and that whole thing. As again, sifting down and filtering into those things that my business mentor taught me. What we teach at Givers University as a segue is as follows. First of all, I say to all you listeners, we love everybody. I say it emphatically, we love everybody. What we teach is something that's not being taught anywhere else. I do 1 to 3 podcasts a day right now, interviews, and I can share with you, this is not being taught anywhere. I can tell by the feedback it's not. Here's what we teach. We teach people how to separate, discern the person who we love from their deeds, which we may not love. We teach people how to discern in relationships. Now, in a world right now where we have businesses opening, closing faster than ever before. Products being antiquated overnight by brand new products. What do we have left? Our relationships. And no one's teaching us how to discern those relationships. I'm a self-improvement geek. I know you are, Tara. And you teach it, and I'm sure with your listeners, you are a form of self-improvement. But and that's all great. I love it. I love looking in the mirror, self-assessment. That's great. I'm in it. But no one's teaching, Tara, how about the other guy? What if he's not doing it right? What should I do about that? And what are the things we should be watching for? So we use a much more granular approach, not broad, innocuous swaths of information where you say, man, that sounds really good. What do I do with that now? I mean, we're very granular in that. Tara, we have identified the deeds, the actual things people do that you can observe. And when you observe these actual deeds at a very granular doing level, watch them doing these things, then you can begin to discern, should I bring them closer? Because givers bring with them the 3 W's of givers: wisdom, wealth, and wellness. Or because of what I'm observing, should I begin to respectfully, not nasty or rude, respectfully distance myself from them? Because when the taker comes in your life and you bring them in closer, they bring with them the 3 D's of a taker, which is defeatism, disruption, and destruction. And they're going to, if I bring them in close, they're going to make me an unwilling participant in collateral damage. So I ask your listeners, think about 3 things. Think about the fires you stomp out every day. Think about when your stress level goes through the roof during the day. Think about when your energy level is totally drained. You just had a conversation. You don't even remember what it was about, but you do know you have no more energy left. They just drained it all from you.
It sucked it straight out your soul.
All 3 of those things have one thing in common. There's a name attached to them. And no one's teaching us how to discern what should we be looking for. What are the actual deeds we should discern for the people we bring in closer into our lives and build around each one of ourselves, our own giver community. That will eliminate the fires we're stomping out. So our productivity, when I'm stomping out a fire, my productivity just went down because I'm not producing results. I'm stomping out a fire. And the stress level goes up. I mean, I want to have 0 stress level. And as a result of energy, I want to be surrounded. Don't we all want to be surrounded with people that give us energy and we give them energy back? But no one's teaching us, Tara, what do we look for? What do we watch for? What should we discern in our relationships that are going to help our productivity 3 times itself because we're not wasting this time? I was very blessed in becoming a commercial pilot to fly my own planes in years past. And one of the first thing that when I was going for my private ticket, the flight instructor sat me in the plane and he said, I'm going to teach you about watching other planes. And I said, okay. And I got to do a visual, but I'll identify it for your listeners because they're only going to hear this probably. They won't say, even though you and I are looking at each other on screen here. He said, when you look out the window and you see a plane, as you're looking at the plane, You never want to see the plane start at this size, small, and then as you're watching it, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. You don't want to see that happen.
No, you don't, do you?
He said, when you're looking at that plane, you want to see the plane be a certain size. And as you're watching it, it gets smaller and smaller. He said, because that means it's moving away from you. When it's getting bigger, it's going to happen fast. He said, and it might be 600 knots closure. So what we teach people, Tara, in relationships are the plane. Look at the plane off in the distance. Discern the relationship off in the distance before they get too close, or if they're already there. These are the things you can do to discern and eventually supplant them with the givers that you want to have around you. So when we say giver, by the way, we're not labeling a person. We don't label people. We're saying deeds, giver deeds. When we say taker, we're not labeling a person as a taker. We're labeling taker deeds. So we teach people how to discern so that their lives can be 3 times more productive, literally stress-free. I can share with you right now, my life is virtually stress-free. I mean, it really truly is. And simply applying the things that I was taught, not things I made up. I didn't make up any of these things, but they are available through Givers University through our courses. So that's what we teach. We teach discernment in relationships.
Wow, what a story. My goodness. From 5 years old on the milk round to, discerning deeds at Givers University. You've had a fascinating life.
Thank you. I really have.
What's the best, one thing that you can point to and say that was one of the best moments of my life? Do you think that was meeting Sam?
Yeah. I mean, other than family things and, the things where, I made the commitment to read the Bible cover to cover every single year. Yeah. I mean, those spiritual things, family things, but if it related to a business thing per se, I would say, yeah, for sure. I mean, he would, and it was because of that law of attraction that you teach. And I want to share with your listeners, you may have right now someone in your life that you're thinking, you know what? I'm not a family member that's being a little takerish. Someone needs to talk with them. This conversation needs to take place, but I don't want to do it because I want to hurt their feelings. I love them. I care about them. Yeah. What do? Do you know one of the very best things they could do is share a podcast put out by Tara and the Law of Attraction Business Coach. And here's why it's important to share that. It's a third party, because when you share something, all I have to do is simply say, you know what? I heard a very thought-provoking podcast. I listen to podcasts, I like it, but this one was especially different. And it really made me think about some things I usually don't think about. Do me a favor, listen to it and tell me what you think. You never know. Their mind may open up. And because of that, they may move from being a little less takerish and a little bit more giverish. And you may be stomping out one less fire because you were a giver and you shared Tara's podcast with them.
That's so true, though, isn't it? Yeah. If instead of addressing it personally, giving them something that's going to make them think and open their minds a little bit and maybe realize themselves what they're doing. That's so true. And it's only one person at a time, isn't it? And that's
right. That's exactly it. And so to share your podcast and to subscribe, because that's mentoring. Tara's Sam Robbins, and to be doing that and sharing with people, and through the courses of your guests and what they've learned and what they can share. These are great things, and I've been very, very fortunate and I've been very blessed in my life. I've had, huge temporary defeats as money entered my life and exited at huge, vast sums. But through all of that, the trainings and the things that I learned were the real blessings, the lessons that I learned from people way smarter than me, and I can share with you, Tara, I've met a lot of educated idiots in my life. Educated where they've got all this book knowledge and all this theorem and they don't know how to apply any of it. And wisdom really is knowing what to do and when to do it. And all these people know how to recite and verbalize and, these words back because they read it or heard it somewhere or memorized it, but application skills, they have none. And today it's about implementation and application. And that's one of the things I know that you do as a business coach. You teach people I'm going to teach it to you, but then I'm going to show you how to apply it. This is what you do. And I think that's so critical as a service that you provide.
Thank you. Yes, it's true. People, you can teach them the best things, but like you said before, they can sit there, have all this information and just look around the room and go, okay, so what do I do now? Yeah. It's like giving somebody a packet of, a handful of spaghetti. They've never seen it before in their life without cooking instructions. They're just going to be like, what do I do with it?
I'm still wondering what to do with that.
Exactly. Do I just eat this crunchy hard stuff?
I think I put it in this microwave, don't I? I don't know what I do.
Is it even food? I don't
know. All I know is I was taught throw a bunch of it against the wall and some of it's going to stick someday.
Yeah, exactly. Spaghetti is exactly the right analogy there, isn't it?
Oh, that's beautiful. I love it. Oh, that's great. Tara, thank you so much for having me on your great podcast. And
it's been a pleasure. It really
Can we share some freebies with some of your listeners?
I would love you to do that. Yes. And I'll put them in the show notes as well. So yeah, go ahead. What have you got for them?
As you go to our website, it's actually we have a major, huge, beautiful upgrade being done. It'll be done next week or two, but as you go to our website, and currently it's giversuniversity.com. It will still be that plural, giversuniversity.com. But they'll be able to sign up on the new website. The information's already been moved over the sign up box to the new site. So it just hasn't been published yet. But when they go there, here's what's going to happen. First of all, number one, when they sign for our newsletter, it's absolutely free. We do not pelt their email with, God, I hate that. I sign up for something. Next thing you know, I'm getting 6 emails a day. And what I do then? Unsubscribe, because they're just pelting me, They're going to get 1 email a week, usually on Thursday. And on that email is going to be helpful hints and thoughts that are going to help them in the discernment of their relationships and being a giver and not a taker. And that's once a week. And, we feature different podcast interviews we do in our Discern episodes. We have 2-minute clips we put out each week on Tuesday that are called Discern. So they're going to get once a week email. So when they sign up, they're going to get an email right away. It says, do you want info from them? They need to confirm their email. Yes, because we don't spam. And then immediately they're going to get a download. We want them to download. It's called The 6 Arrows That Takers Shoot at Givers. They're going to love this download. Download it, print it off, put it in your pocket. It's a great tool for discerning. And then a couple of days later, they're going to get one of my favorite checklists. It's a 2-page checklist that's called the 25 Do's. Download it, use it, put it in your pocket. It identifies the 25 deeds that you will see takers or givers do and how to contrast them. It's on 2 pages. Okay. It's a great checklist that they can use in discerning in their relationships. Very granular. Look for them doing these things and it'll help you discern. So giversuniversity.com, that's where they go. And we'd love to have them participate. We're nurturers and we walk our talk. So last thing I'd like to share with your listeners is something my business mentor shared with me, sort of in closing, if I may.
Yes, please go ahead.
These are 3 things my business mentor shared with me that he said, say to yourself every day. And I began to say these 3 things to myself every day. And I can share with you, not only did it implement the laws of attraction, not only did it make the blessings in my life happen, but it helped me get through the temporary defeats as well. So I share with your listeners, begin to say these 3 things to yourself every day. And here they are. I will never give up. I will keep rising up, and I will always overcome.
Powerful. I will put those definitely in the show note as well. So I will never give up. I will keep rising up.
And I will always overcome.
I will always overcome. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a real pleasure. I've absolutely loved hearing your story and talking to you.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you for having me on your great podcast. Loved it.
Have a great day, my darling.
Have your best day ever. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Happy, Inspired, Motivated podcast. I'll be back next week bringing more meditation, mindset, and motivation for your happy and successful life. To find out more about our community, go to tarachatzakis.com/happy, inspired, motivated.